very, unjustified like moment. It's a very graphic sort of execution of civilians. Shown up close in broad daylight. It's again somewhat unusual. Headshots and everything. So
yeah,
it was a very graphic. But he kills both the ambulance driver and the other paramedic and takes their kit. And we don't know kind of what's going to happen from there. But so now he's got the med kit, he's got the antibiotics, he's got the painkillers, he's got gauze and pads and real anticoagulant and everything else. So his gunshot wound is probably not a huge issue for him anymore, but he still is still in a bad spot because he needs to get out of town. He no longer has a vehicle. He no longer has any cash. He's in trouble. Walker is.
If it was a video game, he would be back replenished 100%.
That's right. Yeah, he got the med kit from the ambulance. He's set 100% health. Yeah. Maybe he can find an armor pack somewhere else.
Yeah.
They didn't have any bullets though. They didn't have any weapons, so he wasn't able to reload.
I wonder if he could have taken that ambulance.
I bet they have GPS and trackers and all sorts of stuff in them. I bet it wouldn't be a profitable maneuver to take that because they're going to find it very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am surprised that they did not send the police along with the ambulance because they said, kind of what to look out for. They warned the ambulance drivers what was going on and they immediately recognized him as the suspect. So I'm surprised that they didn't have, that they were willing to respond to that without a police officer around.
Yeah.
Because in those kind of active crime situations like that, a lot of the paramedics won't go in until it's been cleared by the police. They're not supposed to.
Yeah. They'll wait.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only people die.
Yeah, exactly. And the police stand around and talk to each other. And
yeah. God, that's the funniest thing. I had actually one of my best friends from high school, his dad, he just hated the police, like hated them in a way, like, and this is me growing up in a small town, right?
Yeah.
And he would always see the police just standing around. He would always call them, what was it? He would say something like, oh, you ever see the car, police cars where one, the driver's side, the driver's seat, they're sitting next to each other but opposite directions.
Yes.
You ever see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. He would always say, those cops jerking each other off, not doing shit. It was just the funniest thing.
I got to tell you, every day I walk downtown, I walk from my office, I walk around, I walk about 1.5 miles twice a day. And I walk past the jail, the central jail.
Yeah.
And every single day there are sheriffs or cops out there parked, blocking the sidewalk in front of the jail with the big gates closed. So they aren't allowed in yet for whatever reason. And they're just there sitting and waiting and blocking the sidewalk. Pedestrians can't get past. You got to walk around their cars or squeeze between them and the door that they're parked in front of. And they're just lined up there on the road. And it's like, why do you get special rules? Like if anybody else blocked the sidewalk, you would get a ticket. You would get asked to move. At a minimum, you'd ask to move. But they're just there blocking the sidewalk. It drives me crazy. Crazy. There's no reason for it, too, because there's plenty of parking right along the road, right next to it.
They're just a bunch of assholes.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. They're just a bunch of assholes. Whatever they're doing is more important than whatever the pedestrians who need to walk on the sidewalk are doing. It's infuriating. I'll get off my high horse, though. Let's talk about Raylan and Winona for a minute before we wrap up here. So Winona comes to town, ostensibly because Willa has a heart murmur, apparently, and is going to be visiting a pediatric cardiologist. Neither one of them, Raylan or Winona, know kind of how worried to be about the heart murmur, but you can tell they're definitely worried about it. And Willa is a very loud, very annoying baby who screams constantly. There is a moment where Raylan and Winona are fighting. She's in the bathroom and he's carrying the baby around and he's asking her like, hey, what can I do? And she's like, you realize that you asking me gives me 2 chores to do because now I have to take care of the baby and I have to give you something to do, which I'm sure is what every like new mom has wanted to say to the dad every single day. And the baby's screaming in the background and it is really difficult to listen to. Like I was able to watch it one time and I the next time I watched the episode I skipped it. I had to fast forward through it. It's just so loud.
How is Willa not in this episode not a wiener kid?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even with the screaming, not a wiener kid. It's weird.
No. How is she not a wiener kid?
Oh, how is she not a wiener kid? Oh,
yeah.
Well, she's not doing anything stupid to drive the plot forward. That's
she
doesn't have agency. She's an infant. It's impossible to be a wiener kid when you're an infant.
She's just a clump of cells.
Your scenery. No. Oh God. Jesus. Nothing like a good abortion joke, guys. Let me tell you.
There you go.
Don't worry. There's nothing sensitive about that topic right now. I wouldn't worry about it.
When we start talking about, I don't know, something else.
When people stop being polite and start being real.
Be real.
So, yeah, I mean, I was this close. Like I'm holding my fingers like a quarter of an inch apart. I was this close to putting together a clip with the baby screaming in the background. God. And I'm like, I don't want to alienate our listeners. So,
and I think maybe they even enhanced that audio.
They had to.
Yeah, because it was just terrible.
I can't imagine if they didn't enhance that audio, if that was live recorded audio as they were shooting that scene, how were Raylan and Winona able to pay attention to what was going on in the scene to have a conversation with that going on in the background? I don't know how you could think. Like, no wonder people shake babies.
Jesus. What was the name of that lady who drowned her kids in she drove her car into the water?
Yeah, Susan Smith.
God,
I remember that.
That's why it takes a village.
Well, and then the lady who drowned her kids in the bathtub too. That happened about 10 years ago. Yeah, you hear about it every once in a while. It happens, right? And then you see clips like this, and you're like, oh. I wouldn't do it, but I can understand it.
But I can understand. I'm not saying you should.
Get some help, but I totally understand kind of where you're coming from. You reach a point where you're like, okay, what am I supposed to do? The only thing that stops the crying is holding it underwater. Oh, God.
Oh man, that's dark. Because they're
really dark. But that's that's unfortunately, you have mental illness plus desperation. That's what's going through their heads.
Wow.
But Raylan decides instead of drowning the baby, he's going to take her to go get some ice cream because that will solve all problems. Ice cream solves all problems. It's also the breakfast of champions, as everyone knows. So it's definitely the thing that you have first thing in the morning. The truth of the matter is that he was going to the office. I think he probably did get ice cream too because he's Raylan. But yeah, he went to the office with Willa. And
now, are they in Lexington?
It appears so.
Okay.
That's where Raylan's motel was. So if it's the same motel, we assume it's in Lexington. Yeah. And that's why Raylan. I think Raylan's probably staying in Arlo's house, but I can't be sure. Because that's where they're running the operation out of, right? The undercover operation for Boyd,
that's right.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, Raylan returns to the hotel. Winona is very thankful she's gotten some sleep. She's much more agreeable now. And Willa is quiet. And so they have a little bit of a conversation about his obsession with his job. And she admits that, you know what, I've come to accept it. And then she makes a confession to Raylan. And I have a clip of that. And let me play that, and that'll be our last clip.
I gotta come clean to you about something. Willa's heart wasn't the only thing that got me on a plane out here. I mean, it was part of it, but just all that worrying about it, it really got me thinking. And,
What is it? Hey.
I used to lie awake in our bed when you'd be out doing whatever it was that you did, and I would get so worked up over thinking about if you were never gonna come home again, and what I would do if that happened. And that seemed to me unbearable, and it seemed unfair.
I suppose it was.
Well, whether it was or wasn't or is, now I lie awake next to this little girl, and I listen to her breathe. I know you're not coming home. And it's that certainty. I'm just saying, I think I liked it better the first way.
No. Are you saying?
What I'm saying is, God damn it, I'm saying that I love you, and I miss you, and I want you to come home, and I don't care where home is. I don't care if it's here or in Miami or in the hills. It doesn't matter to me. But if you want it, I want you by my side raising our daughter. So I guess what I'm saying is you can be with me and still be you, if that's something you want.
How generous of her. That was immediately what I thought of, right? Like, this is so interesting, the way this is sort of juxtaposed with the Boyd and Ava relationship. And you've got Winona, who up until this point has decided that this is 100% on her terms. And now she's realized that what that means for her is that she's raising an infant alone. And now it's like, oh shit, wait a minute. That was a bad decision. Maybe that's not what I want. And she says, you can be with me and still be you if that's what you want. It's such a shitty thing to say to a person. Like, I guess I'll accept you for who you are because I have to. I don't have a choice. If that's what you want, if you really don't want to change to make yourself better for me, I guess I can sort of accept the way you are now.
Jesus. It's like those the women who get divorced and they're like well, that's not a good example. It's like did you see this TikTok thing where women were talking they formed a list of places that you can't go for a first date?
I saw that first video, which I think was fake, with the lady in the car filming the guy, and he took her to Cheesecake Factory. She refused to get out of the car. Yeah. But which, by the way, Cheesecake Factory is awesome. I don't care. I don't know what they have good food. They have a menu that has literally everything in the world on it. You get any kind of food you want at Cheesecake Factory, and their cheesecake's really good too. I don't know what our beef with Cheesecake Factory is. Like, I can understand, maybe you don't want to go to Wingstop. Okay, fine. That's not a great first date place, right?
Olive Garden.
Yeah. You know what? Like, if you're in college, maybe Olive Garden.
Yeah,
fine. If you're 25 or older, probably not. But Olive Garden's a pretty good restaurant too. I mean, look, these places are everywhere and they're popular for a reason, right? It's people like them, and that drove me crazy. Like, how can you say coffee is not a good place to go on a first date? What the hell is wrong with you? That's perfect. It's low risk. It's low investment.
Yeah,
you get to meet the person, find out if you like them.
Yeah. Oh, there was even that one even earlier, like that was a couple of weeks ago, and it was the woman who like they went on a date, and so like she started like they went to an oyster bar or something like that, and she rang up this massive tab, and then he dips.
Oh, I heard about that one too. Yes, yeah, she ran up like a $200 tab, and he's like, he's like, I'm gonna take off. I'm not paying for this. And he didn't just leave her. Like, he actually told her he was leaving. That's you know what? Good for him. Yeah, I give him credit for that. Because what a lot of people would have done in that situation is just gone to the bathroom and never come back.
Who among us has never gone on a date and
and ghosted them
and ghosted them in the middle of the date
with the check, left them the check.